and then Jeff, mainly because I haven't seen you in the longest time period. I want you to start. I want you to introduce yourself and say what you do.
All right, now?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm Jeff Menke. How's it going? I live in Finneytown, USA.
Mm.
The
hearts of the USA.
That's right.
One of the hearts.
I work for a food service product distributor. We sell to independent restaurants, caterers, hotels, schools, anybody has a food service license. So I supply food and other non-food products, pretty much just about anything you could possibly need to run a food service outlet I have. So I deal with, chefs and restaurateurs and anybody in the hospitality business. We're solution driven. Work for a family owned company called Northern Hazrat. Been around for well over 100 years. And we've always focused on independence. We're based in Ohio. So we're probably about the only real large distributor that's actually based in Ohio. Everybody else is corporate driven and has corporate headquarters somewhere else in the United States. So that's pretty cool. Work for a family-owned company, working with independents. I do love it. And of course, Scott, first time I ever met you was in the restaurant industry.
Right.
Well, kind of, so yeah, that's me.
No, sort of. Yeah, it was. Ben, for those that don't know, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Ben Haggerty. I am your brother.
Thank you.
For those that might not be aware, I can't imagine who that would be at this point, but I own a small neighborhood bar over in Northern Kentucky. Live downtown, have a couple kids, married. That's really about it. That's my gig.
Right on. Jay Metz, say something crazy.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
Jay,
Good,
wait
man.
a minute.
How are you? Jay,
I'm
who are you?
fantastic.
Where are you? What do you do?
I am in Norwood, Ohio, since
Another heart.
1999. And I have run the bar and do all the beer and wine ordering at the Oakley Kroger,
The
also
Oakley
known
Kroger.
as the Crow Bar,
The Crow
Crow
Bar.
Bar.
right by Crossroads Church.
Right on.
So we are selling a massive amount of beer and wine there, and it is insane. It's been awesome.
It's been awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm staying healthy and everybody's helping out. It's been a real community building with all the vendors and everything, because the state has lifted some of the laws about them helping stock shelves. And so we have,
as far as like age restrictions and stuff?
no, the vendors aren't allowed to stock the shelves.
Themselves.
or
I got
whatever.
you. I got you.
Or they'll
Gotcha.
get a fine or whatever. So yeah.
Gotcha. And is that to prevent like competitive positioning wars?
That's possibly part of it. Yeah.
Is there any fights on over shelf space right now?
Skids. We have giant skids on the floor. It's been turned into like a beer and wine depot.
Yeah, I actually noticed that.
We just have massive displays up everywhere.
Yep.
And tons of beer and wine everywhere. I mean,
There's islands of alcohol scattered throughout that entire end of the store.
Yeah, and now we have the Freezy Pops, Martini Freezy Pops. So
anyway, so I'll be there.
$4.99.
What time does that? What time's the Crow Bar close tonight?
The Crow Bar has been shut down.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But the store closes at 9.
Right.
So I've been having a second shift of my bartenders are now working the stock shelves at night.
Right on.
So,
Right.
But everybody still has a job and we're very busy. It's insane.
It's good.
Right. Ben,
Awesome.
Ben,
Yes, sir.
Before we go on, can I ask Ben a question?
Please.
Jeff Menke.
I'm not.
How are you?
When I first saw your picture, where are you? Are you in Durango? Because it kind of looks that in the background. I don't know. I just feel like you're out west.
No. This is Mount Auburn. But
okay.
yeah, it's that's
Durango,
blue
Mount
stucco.
Auburn.
Yeah.
A lot of blue stucco. Yeah, this house never fit in this neighborhood. Never has. I've been here. Jesus, coming up on 25 years. So having a stucco house in the historic district in Mount Auburn, Prospect Hill,
Nice.
doesn't really seem to fit. So whatever. But the wife loved blue, and she said, "I want the color." So there we go.
I was gonna say it fits better now than it did when it was that salmon color.
Well, it was more salmon, and then it faded into some really putrid pink, and then it went fleshy for a while. And we debated painting huge hairs on it just to make it as more obscene than it already was.
Right. That putrid pink, by the way, I believe is a Martha Stewart line color.
Could be.
Oh yeah.
So Ben, tell me a little bit about like Jay said that everyone's still working at Kroger's. Obviously, they're selling a lot of retail alcohol. My guess is that obviously I already know some of the answers to this. Tell me what's going on, man. Tell me the saga at least of how you started with the growlers and how that all went. As much as you can.
I mean, we got shut down. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's everything's all above board. We were within the law until we weren't, and then we stopped doing that. Whatever. But we've been closed to the general public for over a month now. Literally got shut down the day before St. Patrick's Day, which probably wasn't
the 16th. Yep.
But of course, not knowing what was going to happen, we geared up for it and purchased for it, and we're holding that much more stock as a result of it. So initially, we were able to sell. I mean, there was that first week of nothing. And then the state busted out, Commonwealth of Kentucky came out with like, look, you can sell whatever's in there. Just get rid of it. Sell it all. Do growlers, sell package, whatever. You can't do mixed drinks. That's the only thing you can't do.
The state literally said that anything prepackaged, you could just unload.
Absolutely. And I still can, provided I sell food. But it kind of, there was at least 7 or 8 different releases of ABC modifications through the first 3 to 4 weeks. And so now it went from sell whatever it is, it doesn't matter. There was no qualifications about food. We could do growlers off our draft system. We could do any packaged beer, wine, shots, anything that we had that was already packaged.
Right.
So then they took the growlers away because I guess there was concern about health code. And
no seal. Right.
A cleaning station and so on. But we were actually buying growlers from the party source and providing those, or just telling people, bring your own and we will fill this at your own risk. I hope you cleaned it. Of course, people are, I guess, not responsible for themselves, so that still didn't work. Right. But so they took that away. We kept going with packaged beverage, and we still have a crap ton of beer to sell. And I've done basically it's $6.50 a 6-pack of domestic and $7.50 a 6-pack of import, and it doesn't matter what it is. I don't, it could be Dragon Stout. You're still getting it for $7.50 because it's going at a loss.
And you're doing
regardless.
this just out. You're just doing this out your window. Is there specific
We're
hours
doing
for
this
it?
literally out the side window of the bar. We put a clipboard up with a list of stuff and say, "This is what we still have. Please come help clean our shelves."
What are the
because
hours?
we never throw it away otherwise.
When should Jeff, Jay, and I all come down and buy a bunch of beer?
All right.
We're doing Wednesday through Sunday. Saturday and Sunday are kind of they're not official. I mean, everybody's checking Facebook the day of, but 5 to 10 is pretty much a rule of thumb. 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday.
Yep, pretty much.
Generally speaking. And what's the address of this place? Washington
343,
and Division?
343 Division in Bellevue, Kentucky, 41073. About 5 minutes from the party source in the heart of the residential historic district.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned dive bar.
Well, not to be too personal, but I mean, obviously,
sales are down.
Yeah, right.
Sales are way down.
But
yeah, I mean, so
do you apply for an SBA?
I did the initial $10,000 grant and I literally point that out because that was the language that was utilized. This was 2 weeks ago when I first saw that on the restaurant forum on Facebook. Hey, you can apply for this $10,000 grant for restaurants and bars.
Implies not having to pay it back.
Grant. Yeah, right. That's exactly what it said. So I applied for that immediately. You didn't receive any confirmation. There was no email. Yes, we received your application. Nothing. It just off into the ether it went. My former business partner, Kevin Feldman, owns Milton's Pub, reached out to me, just kind of touching base. What are you doing? What's going on? And I mentioned that to him, sent him the link, and the language had changed no more than a week later. It was no longer the $10,000 grant. It was the $10,000 loan / grant. Now I think it just says $10,000 loan. I really don't know, but they're changing that as they go.
A lot of this is being made up as it goes along.
I mean, it's uncharted territory. People can knock the government all they want, but no one alive today has been through anything remotely like this. So
sure.
At least very few.
It's fair to point out,
we went ahead and applied for that.
And you still have no idea, even if your application's been received, nothing.
That was weird. Initially, I was going to go through U.S. Bank because they were listed on the SBA website. And that was on a Friday. I started looking at this loan application for payroll protection and so on. Talked to them briefly. They said, yep, go to this address online for U.S. Bank, fill it out. The Monday morning, I hadn't really had a chance to dig into it because it does require you have, your payroll for X amount of time, and there's, I believe it was February to February. They were looking for your total purchases, total sales. There's a bunch of miscellaneous things that needed to be uploaded. Fortunately, I am an accountant, thank God. There's no way in God's green earth I could come up with a lot of that stuff. So I really feel for a lot of places that are winging it. And then I got a call from my actual primary banking manager at West Banco in Bellevue. And they said, hey, do you want to apply for that? I'm like, that's funny. I would with you. You're my business account, but you weren't listed on the site. He goes, yeah, a lot of the smaller ones aren't. The big ones get listed up top, but you should reach out to your local bank and ask them point blank for anybody that hasn't already done it, because I assume there'll be another round of funding. We haven't received any confirmation. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I also haven't seen any stimulus package either. We haven't seen any of that here either.
Oh, I got yours. Thank you.
You got mine?
He claimed you. He claimed you.
Besides a big kid, man.
I claimed you. Jeff, this might be a bigger, I'm kind of stair-stepping up. This might be how has this, I consider D-Day 13th the last month. Friday the 13th is when we stopped letting our kids go to school. And pretty much the following week is when everything was just like, what has that done to food service distribution in the state of Ohio?
Well, to Ben's point about the timing of the shutdown in association with St. Patrick's Day, if you guys need corned beef, just let me know. I'm happy to do what I can for you, if you know what I'm saying.
Is that can?
Oh my God. It's been a struggle for all of our clients. From hotels down all the way down to the little mom and pop shop. And to Ben's point, the struggle on getting these loan applications done has been, a lot of independents just don't have the information that they required at your fingertips. Right. It's not easily accessible. You've got to take time to collate. You don't have somebody on payroll that's doing that for you. And so by the time that everybody was able to cross their T's and dot their I's on those type of loan applications, it was almost too late. So I feel for a lot of people that, Ben, in your situation, it sounds like that's exactly what happened in a lot of ways. So, but, it's been a struggle. Some of our customers are doing very well with carryout. Mostly it's people that are in the right place, in the right time, the right situation. But
strong, loyal, local following kind of thing.
That's part of it. A lot of independents, a lot of restaurants buy to-go boxes and to-go materials just so you can take home whatever you don't eat when you're there for dinner.
Right. So it's rudimentary to say the least.
But it's a completely different scenario when you're trying to design a food-to-go program, because you got to have the right package. Number one thing is, can you protect your brand? Can you protect what you're putting out that gives your customer the confidence that it's going to be good and gives them a reason to come back? And doing food to go is not easy at all. So it took a lot of people a lot of time to reinvent themselves, and it's a struggle. It really is.
I had Lauren Altman on a couple weeks ago, and I was asking her about that, because obviously they have a lot of they're not small and independent really anymore, but they have a lot of independent, pieces. And, and she made a point. I just, you don't really think of it, even though I've been in the restaurant business for so long, I didn't even think about the fact that, that is a sea change. It's not like all of a sudden we're just doing it this way and bagging things up.
That's right.
You're right. You need a totally different approach to it. And Lauren said that, Thunderdome, they just kind of decided that some restaurants were carry out viable and some weren't, and they couldn't just make the switch. It wasn't economically feasible to invest the time and effort necessary to recoup what little they were going to recoup.
It's not as simple as that. From the packaging. Now, with the introduction and the explosion over the last couple of years of Uber Eats and, DoorDash and things like that, the industry has responded. And there's some fantastic packaging solutions out there for people with venting. So you have vent and airflow in the from the sides and going up.
Right.
And it can keep food hot or crispy or whatever. But again, are you doing your whole menu? Are you doing half the menu? Are you coming up with a new menu? Who's working? Because there's no
Right.
6 degrees of separation or 6 feet of separation in a kitchen. That's difficult to do. So needless to say, our customers are struggling in every aspect of the industry. When things come back, everybody's talking about what it'll look like. What's it going to look like, Ben, in 3 weeks in your place, or a month? What's it going to look like in the restaurants?
It's going to look like in 3 months even.
Right. I mean, is it June 1st? Is it 30% capacity? Is it 70% capacity? Is it financially feasible for these people to open for everybody to open at 50% capacity? What's the level? There's just so many question marks right now, and it's definitely disheartening
It
to
is.
say.
It is. There's a lot of places I think that are going to end up deciding that it's not worth it. I mean, there's going to be places that won't be able to make a profit. There's margins that are so narrow in places that I heard it, this was a month ago before things really, seemed to get dire. I heard a guy on NPR saying, your independent businesses, your independent bars and restaurants, no offense, Ben, 75% of them probably won't survive this. It's going to be the big corporations that do. And I've been trying to order carryout from stuff, but that's the other thing too, is that, it's great to want to support the restaurants and it's great to go buy gift cards and get carryout and stuff, but that's a whole nother animal as far as like, protecting your money and staying at home yourself,
It's been difficult to say at least say food in the food service, but people who have been able to think on their feet, adapt, and it's hard, but it's not unfeasible to make some of these scenarios work. I think what a lot of people are realizing that these are maybe lines of revenue and business that they can develop that will last, that they're not just going to go away from. Oh my gosh,
come out better than they were before.
Right. And that's the idea, I think, is a lot of people are going to have alternate streams of revenue moving forward. It's not just going to be the way it was. So Ben, when you want to talk about food at your place, just let me know.
Yeah.
Come build that kitchen. You do that kitchen build out for me. I'm all about it.
I thought we were just talking about putting a couple of convection ovens in the back.
Yeah, Turbo Chef, man. They're the best.
Well, I bet money the health department is going to kind of turn a blind eye for a minute, but come full circle, they're going to come down hard. And Northern Kentucky is tight with that, and with good reason. We shouldn't be out poisoning people.
I mean, isn't that food requirement, though? I mean, can't you get around that just by having a rack of pork rinds?
For me, what we've been doing, the food requirement in Northern Kentucky, we've been meeting because they did write it very loosely. I don't know that if we're truly meeting it or not. We have yet to be called on it or not. We're giving out a tray of peanuts. We're, selling a bag of chips. The way the code was written, they gave a reasonable example. You could order a pizza with a bottle of wine. That would be perfectly reasonable.
Sure.
1 to 3 bottles of wine with one pizza, reasonable. A case of wine, not reasonable. That is
I mean, it depends on whose party it is, really.
Right? That is literally I've never met my wife.
And how big the pizza is. They're the old Bearcat.
Yeah, that's right.
You need at least 2 bottles of wine for each piece.
The standard Super Bowl staple at the bar. We bring out a Bearcat, try to expose people to Adriaticos and all its wonder.
Didn't you guys have a relationship with Pasquale's or something down there?
Fessler's now. He's dropped his franchisee name, and it's still ostensibly Pasquale's, but it's Fessler's, the family name. We've had a good relationship with them over the years. If we ordered carry out from there, it was a 20% discount for anybody that wanted to have it brought in. But that was how we always got around it, to support local restaurants in our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's funny you talk about packaging, though. I had to go try to hunt up six-pack holders, because
don't panic, boys. I can still hear you.
Yeah, my model was to break apart cases and put them into coolers, and then suddenly I need to sell 30 cases of beer that have all, were coming out of 12 packs or cases that didn't have any packaging. I had no way to sell it.
Didn't even think about that. That's because some beers don't come with the 6-pack holders in the case, and if you do have them, you're discarding them mostly.
I always saved ours. We always kind of recycle to a greater degree. I give them to other bars that need them because they use them in their coolers, but we never have. I owe a great debt of gratitude to the folks at the Party Source. They've been incredibly supportive, selling me growlers at a wholesale level, selling me, or, gifting me boxes and packaging and six packs and whatever I needed to continue to at least sell out the stock that I have on hand.
What do you
Just
just need, like
I gotta
holders
get a
and
carryout
stuff?
license. What's
Just
that?
another example of you trying to recreate who you are and what you do. And, it's just not as simple as, okay, I'm doing carry out now. It's just not as simple as flipping that switch.
No. And I felt like a fool when I was having the conversation with Lauren for looking at it that way. I don't know why. I just,
Well, it's easy to think, just put it in a box and send it on its way.
well, I think it's kind of my built-in optimism as well.
I was
But
initially
packaging,
against it. I was initially against it, hoping that this would be a little shorter than I imagined, and the vast majority of the craft beer and stuff would last. But looking up and realizing, June is probably going to be a wish list item.
Yeah.
At the very least, I should sell off what I've got on hand.
Yeah,
As
right.
opposed to throwing it out, pouring it down the drain in a month or two, or drinking it all. Jesus Christ! That would be horrifying.
Didn't you have a sweetheart distributor buy some stuff back from you too?
We actually, Chaz Seligman, ostensibly the Budweiser reps in Northern Kentucky, as well as Stagnero, the Miller reps, came through, and anything that was case allotment, and they even allowed me to mix and match to a certain degree. Anything that was a full case unopened, they came and bought and
that's nice.
sent me a check.
That's sweet.
That's
I
good.
mean, it's at cost, which is fine. It helped me pay some bills, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Sold those out of my store. We brought in a lot of cases from bars and restaurants, and then from the Reds. We have a special $18.99 case of Mick Ultras and Bud Light right now. That's
Right.
from the Reds that they would have been selling at the stadium.
Right. It's got
So
Mr. Redlegs on the label.
every store got like a huge skid of these beers in and stuff. And we got the cases for the bars and restaurants that from Stagnero, from Miller Lite and Coors that were full cases for $15.99. We
Right.
sold out on those pretty quickly.
It's not like there's not a place for this alcohol to be going. I mean, people want it. I've been drinking so much, and but this kind of brings me to something else I want to talk about. I mean, you guys both mentioned this. What's it going to be like? Jay's Kroger's. Aside from a handful of people wearing masks and stuff, it always seems like just Kroger's. I mean, there's the empty toilet paper and paper towel aisle, but for the most part, I don't. It's not like a ghost town, and it's not like a social distancing. Like I haven't seen anybody fighting over whether someone's wearing a mask or not. And as we go through these next few weeks, and more people start getting the sense that it's okay now. How does that transpire? I mean, who here of the four of us, who here wears the mask in general, just going out?
I do.
Do you?
I wear a mask and gloves, but I'm also in a different scenario. My wife is stage 4 metastatic breast cancer patient and will be for the rest of her life.
Yeah,
and,
you can't take that chance.
The scenario has been a little different. The mask is always, portrayed to me as being a protection for others, not necessarily for myself.
Right.
The research and everything I've read about the virus, that is incredibly transmissible, and there are many people who have it or who have had it who don't know they have it.
Right, but they're still contagious.
So, I've been a lot more stringent about where I go. I go to my Finneytown Kroger, Jay, and I think they're doing a fantastic job there. They sanitize the carts as they come back in. There's 2 doors, and you're able to go in one and out the other. They've halved their capacity. I think they've done a pretty nice job there. It's not near, obviously the size of, the store that you're at, but I think they've done a pretty good job. So I go there once a week. I go to the same spots, and I don't really deviate from that at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a good routine.
Yeah, but see, now I feel like a complete bastard because I don't. I go out. I'll do the gloves.
It's your fault, man.
It is my fault, right? But the thing is that I'll do the gloves, Kroger's, and Christina leans on me to wear the mask. And the thing is while not a serious circumstance, Christina has a thyroid condition and she's asthmatic, which puts her, in that high risk category.
Absolutely does.
And I'm as careful as I could be. I wash like hell. We're wiping down groceries before we bring them in the house and stuff.
Sure.
She,
So
she doesn't make
you're
a lot
doing
of
extra
those trips.
things. You're doing extra things too.
I mean, I guess what it comes down to is do we all have faith that enough people will do enough of the things once they start giving people the idea that it's okay to go out? I don't know.
That's going to be a flow and ebb. That's going to be a case by case, state by state, location by location. I had this conversation earlier today with someone who was, they're pushing to reopen as quickly as possible in Kentucky. This individual, mind you, Brashear's been great. DeWine's been great in Ohio. I've been pleasantly surprised by both governors on both sides of the river. But for those that were pushing it, we're like, hey, I mean, don't you want your business open? I was like, look, if they said I could open my doors wide open tomorrow, I wouldn't. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not going to open my doors in any capacity until at least June 1. Until they're doing 100,000 tests a day with some reasonable assurance.
Do you think they're going to really get to that point?
I have my doubts at this. Second wave, potentially, yeah. I think we're due for a second wave.
I think the testing business is being deliberately hampered to not reflect how bad things are.
I just don't think we're doing enough testing and that way we have no.
I don't think we're going to. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're ever going to do enough testing to actually give us any accurate depiction of what really is going on. And I think it's a conscious and deliberate effort.
Nah, there's way too much money to be made there.
Very, very well could be, but if it's up to the states and you have some of the governors who are interested in doing it, I think it's all going to lie on that antibody test, which I'm not, certainly not a scientist. I'm just a food dude. So,
but I play one on TV.
There's a song there somewhere.
There is.
Exactly. But, that seems to be the answer, really. People have had it. They maybe, they're immune to it. I mean, that's the test that I think that we need to be focusing on from what it sounds like from the outside.
Are we sure about that? I mean, haven't there been some instances, and here comes down the disinformation pipeline routine of people acquiring it again?
Well, that's the thing. No, there've actually been confirmed cases in China of people who had it, recovered, and got it again.
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Well,
immunity.
The suggestion is that it's not something that an immunity is readily built to. But that's the thing is apparently this is something I didn't know and I wouldn't if I hadn't been reading about this stuff lately. Apparently, there's strains of the run-of-the-mill flu that your immunity isn't permanent for. Like you have to have dealt with some kind of form of the virus at some point over a certain time period for the immunity to be legitimate, which is why flu shots, right? But yeah, I agree with you, the antibody test, but I don't know. It's just so hard to know what the hell's really going on.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're 100% correct. I mean, this isn't the flu. There is a seasonal flu vaccine, like you said. There isn't a seasonal COVID-19 vaccine.
No.
I suggest to people who are doubters or naysayers is that, the numbers aren't reflecting a terrible wave, but is that because we've done these in, mitigation situations that we already have in Kentucky and Ohio? We've been doing it for weeks now. Is that part of the answer? I mean, the whole idea really was not to overwhelm the healthcare system, right? It wasn't necessarily the deaths. It was the
ability to handle the sick.
Exactly. So if you look at the numbers that come through of the hospitalizations, 30% of the hospitalizations are ICU admissions. That's a pretty high number. That's a huge thing. 3,000 healthcare workers in Detroit have been tested positive for this virus. So, I think there's a lot of situations that people aren't necessarily remembering or recognizing when they go, oh my God, let's get out of here. Can't we just go to the restaurant, or can't we just open things up?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm kind of with Ben. I've had my heart set on June 1st as kind of being the date that was at least the earliest where things will really come back on.
And that's the thing too to remember is it's not the date that everything's all of a sudden the way it was and we're hugging each other. It's the first stage. It's the first steps towards some kind of realization of just I don't know if you guys there's somebody put together this great reel on the protesters, the free us protesters, and it was just a series. Yeah, liberate us. It was a series of different protesters in different places all saying the same thing, how badly they wanted a haircut. And I mean, I get it. I need a haircut bad too. But I don't know.
Darwin says you can go out. Darwin says you can go do whatever you want to do. Knock yourself
Right.
out.
Let
You
me
go
see
get
it
together
again,
with all
Jay.
your friends.
There's Little Kings.
Oh,
Nice. Classic.
I didn't think that existed anymore.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
What I'm missing is Mickey's
Right,
Big
19.
I'll tap into some of that next.
Everybody's got to tap into something.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I like hearing, the kind of optimistic thought processes that people are going to be doing the right thing and that it's going to be phased and it's going to be June 1st. I think June 1st seems really soon. Like, I'm not buying the seasonal drop. I mean, the fact that this spread just as readily in tropical climates around the world tells me that it's
Right.
not really, waiting for warmer weather isn't necessarily going to be a stopgap measure. But
I don't know. And the whole thing is definitely scary. And, the pressure that the governors are under to reopen from a certain segment of the population is distressing, to say the least.
and
I
it's
think.
it is distressing, but at the same time it's kind of hard. I mean, obviously there's some buffoons out there taking it the wrong, using it. I mean, just like flying a Confederate flag at one of these rallies makes no sense to me. It has nothing to do with any of it. But I could see some frustration and anger at people that haven't been able to work and haven't gotten their stimulus check or haven't,
Yeah,
or
right.
their unemployment. But
Absolutely.
like I know people that have applied for unemployment benefits, and it's the same situation you're going through with the small business loan thing.
Right.
They don't even have any idea if it's being processed, if anybody's
Right.
even looked at it. There's no acknowledgement. They have no idea. They can't get through to anybody. I've talked to people who applied 2 or 3 times and then got cut off before it even started because there was some kind of claim that they were trying to job the system because they had no idea that they'd fill it out right the first time. And it just.
I know. To Ben's point, nobody was prepared for this. I mean, we're going
No.
The weird thing is we've lucked out.
from all. Yeah.
We got a Jeff's got a bandwidth issue, but it's a good freeze.
It is a good freeze.
And it's
Yep.
yeah. There
There he is.
See that little max headroom thing. I mean, I've heard a lot of this. No one could have said this was gonna. I mean, obviously, no one could have prepared for it, except we kind of were prepared for it before. there was a time when there was teams of people in place, and apparently hindsight's 2020 on the way Ebola was handled and how much worse that could have been. I mean, maybe not this level, maybe not this exact disease, but we've definitely been. It could have been handled better.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a given, well, at least probably among
I know,
some.
but it's just like crying over spilled milk, right? Here we are.
I suppose there's a certain point where you're beating a dead horse, but I still agree that it
And
could
I
have been
would.
a lot better. I mean, we've lucked out. It could have been a lot worse. This could be like the Spanish flu, and people could be dropping left and right.
Well, the Spanish flu wasn't bad till the second wave, right?
Well, Spanish flu killed a few million the first wave, without question.
And then didn't it kill 100 times more the second?
Yeah, well over 50 million, somewhere roughly around 80 million inside of 2 years. It took 2.5 years for it to run its course.
And that's the thing that a lot of people I don't think are really, really wrapping their heads around is that, even if we, start moving into some kind of semblance of normalcy as early as May 1st or June 1st or whatever it might be, we're really not going to be back to anything like what it was before this, at least for a couple of years, and not until there's a vaccine that's absolutely like foolproof. This is the new normal.
Well, anybody that says it's going to, that, well, if they're successful in getting this to, flatten the curve, and they're successful in getting this to run its course inside of a year per se, then everybody's going to say it wasn't that bad, and it wasn't a question whether we did a good job. It was just not that bad. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation depending on which side of the fence you're on. It's a win-win
Well,
situation.
I mean,
it's a win-win situation for some aspects of.
To the naysayers, they're never going to be appeased unless somebody dies in their family, and it's the only thing that's going to correct them. And I don't wish.
Maybe.
That.
I mean, that's.
I don't wish that on anybody either, but there's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, I don't know anybody personally that's dealing with it." I do.
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I had a family friend who actually was in ICU, and fortunately, looks like he's on the road for recovery, which is outstanding. But it was pretty dicey last week, and still not a good situation.
Yeah.
But, my question is, without a seasonal flu vaccine, would we not be living like this every winter? I mean, would it be the same situation?
I don't know what the contagion level's like. Hey, listen, we got to do this again soon. I'm up against a hard out because I've got the free Zoom because I never think anybody wants to listen to anybody talk for more than 40 minutes. But I really appreciate it. Jeff, I'm going to call you sometime either later today or tomorrow so we can catch up for real. Jay, we're going to have you on again sometime so you can talk more.
Hey, it's all good.
Ben's fault.
You know,
He talks too much.
I enjoyed listening.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys very much doing it. I'll post it in a little while. And I'll let you guys know, and we'll touch base again soon, okay?
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Ben,
guys.
for Ben to admit his first job as your brother is a good lesson.